Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Roaming Prepper. As you know, being a preparedness-minded person, I'm always thinking about potentialities, things that could happen. I'm sure many of you think the same way. However, I think there's one, I guess you could call it an SHTF situation that we never talk about. But I want to talk about it because I'll bet it has happened to every single person watching this video. And no, I'm not talking about a blackout with the power going out. I'll be right back and I'll tell you what I think it is. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining me again. As always, I do try to premiere this type of video, and I do try to jump in the chat. But if for some reason I cannot, feel free to put any questions or comments you have under the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. A thumbs up is always appreciated. If for some reason you don't like what I'm saying, you want to give me a thumbs down, that's fine. What I find ironic is people give more thumbs down to my corgis than to me. Like, I post a video blabbing and then I post a video about the dogs, and you get that same 8% of people just like, we don't like dogs, and thumbs down. But if you don't like a corgi or, you know, a little nubby potato dog, then you're probably evil anyway. So I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, back to the subject at hand, the most common SHTF. We often talk about EMPs and floods and tornadoes and hurricanes, all of the, well, with the exception of the EMP, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, I've dealt with all of the above, including blizzards and a blizzard with a tornado, which was really weird. But anyway, I think there's a SHTF that people really need to think about that happens every day, and I'll bet you almost every person on this video, if not all of you, have had it happen. What am I talking about? Really simple. I'm talking about the loss of your livelihood. Losing your job, losing your store, your business goes under, burns down, God forbid, your company shuts the plant, whatever the case may be. The loss of your primary means of making a living is one of the most common and sometimes the most difficult SHTF a person can experience. So when it's an SHTF, it's not a global SHTF, you know, a tornado or, you know, again, my favorite creature, the Cloverfield monster, comes running through your town. The whole town now has an SHTF. Losing your job can be just you. And if a plant shuts down in a town, it'll affect the whole town, right? But let's talk about your individual situation. You as a person who has to go out and work for a living. I'm sure I might have a millionaire listening to me right now, but more than likely, most of the folks listening to me, like me, have to go to a job and do stuff in order to get their paycheck. So there are a few things, and I actually, just to keep them organized this time, I actually wrote them down on my handy dandy sticky. One of the first things you need to do, if you get notified you're getting laid off, you get fired, you get a notification they're closing the plant, or you realize, even if you own your own business, that you've gotten to the point that you have to close the doors, the first thing you should do is try to keep calm. Now, this is way easier said than done. I was blessed in that a 25-year career, I've been laid off twice, and it was within the same one-year period because the market had crashed. Other than that, I've never been laid off. But the first time, even though I was a mature adult, was pretty upsetting and very concerning. Most important thing, the second time I had already done it and I was organized and I knew how everything worked. Keeping calm is one of the most important things. Don't get emotional. Don't lose your biscuits. Don't get temperamental. Stop. And the thing I often tell people, if you find you've been laid off or they're going to lay you off or they've shut down the job or whatever, is go home. Don't drink alcohol right away. Get water in you. Get a chocolate bar or something and just sit and break out a notepad, because my next recommendations are where the notepads are going to come in handy. So 1, keep calm. Doesn't help anyone. 2, before you leave your company, ask about your benefits. A lot of companies will give you severance. They will pay you vacation due. Some companies will say, well, if we're in the middle of a paycheck period, like you get paid every 2 weeks, they may say, okay, we're going to pay you through what would have been your next paycheck, and then we cut you off. So you've got an extra week of pay. Or they may say, we're going to give you medical for a month. Whatever it is the company gives you or your employment gives you, get a copy of it. Make sure you get a hard copy, something in writing that you can then refer back to, preferably something with phone numbers that you can call. Most companies will also give you an option, if they had a health plan, to go to Cobra or some other health plan that you can opt into. Some of these cost a lot, some cost a little less, but bottom line is there are options for both medical and financial benefits in most companies, so make sure you look into that and you know what you're eligible for. Don't leave money on the table. I've seen people actually, they get laid off, they don't ask any questions, and then they find out a year later that, oh, well, they said we could file for getting our days off paid or an extra month of medical or whatever the case is, and they missed out on that opportunity. So don't do that. Ask before you go, since I'm being laid off, are there any benefits? Do I get a severance? Am I going to get any of my back days off paid? Am I going to get my owed days? Can I bring my, take your private possession? Most of the time you can go and collect your personal belongings. Don't be afraid to ask. Can I go collect my belongings now? Even if they have to watch you, symbolically, someone has to stand there with you and make sure you don't steal anything, fine. Ask, is there any equipment that you have paid for that you can keep, or is there anything that you can take with you? Can you get the medical benefits, and are you owed any pay or any other compensation? So that's one, verify your benefits. Okay, item number 2 after that is file for unemployment immediately. A lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not going to file for unemployment. I can find a job. That's a dumb thing to do. Financially and business-wise, it's a bad move. You're eligible for the benefit. All of us, including myself, are paying into this. So when one of us loses a job through no fault of our own, we can get a little bit of financial help. What I would do is immediately go to the unemployment office or go online and file. Now, that being said, I will tell you right now, at least in Texas, and I believe this is pretty standard, it takes 2 weeks before you're eligible to start collecting anything. So they're not going to cut you a check right away. It'll be 2 to 4 weeks, depending on your state laws and how things are set up. But file right away, because once you file, the clock starts. Okay. Also, the sooner you file, there's certain tax incentives on the other end. So let's say you get unemployed, you file right away, and then you get a job a couple of months later and you start working. Well, you can claim those times, any mileage. There's certain, and I don't remember all the details, so talk to an accountant or a tax preparer for more details. But you can write off the cost of going to interviews, preparing resumes, stuff like that. There's certain things you can write off, but it's always important to start that clock. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to tell the government your business. The government already knows you've been laid off, so don't, or they're going to find out soon enough. Don't sweat it. Go as soon as you can. Once you've sorted your benefits, go file for unemployment. Also, in order to collect unemployment, you have to show in a written form or in filling out a form online that you're actively looking for jobs. In other words, you're applying, you're interviewing, you're going to job fairs. The sooner you start the clock, the better it is for you. The quicker you can get those unemployment checks into your household to kind of buffer the hurt. Okay, so that's number 2. Or actually, I'm sorry, number 3. Number 4, network. Before you leave or while you're in the parking lot, find all your coworkers, anyone you know, and if you like them mainly and you think they're worth a damn, trade numbers, trade information, start talking to each other, start communicating. And you have to be a good friend as well, right? Tell them, hey, if you hear of anything, a job fair, openings, and there's more than one, text me, call me, let me know. You do the same. You go out there, think of it as a mag for unemployment. You go out and you say, hey, you know what? There's going to be a job fair at the church down the street. And you text the 3 or 4 coworkers you used to get along with, and now all of you can go, and hopefully one of you can find a job. And once one of you finds a job, they may hear of other opportunities that they can then share. But remember, it takes two to tango. So they need to help you and you need to help them. If you're only helping them and they're not helping you, then cut them off, because that's not someone you need around. And I've experienced that firsthand. All right, so while I'm on the topic of networking and keeping your resume up to date, get out the door, go to events. I have seen very competent professional people lose their job. They apply for 2 weeks with a passion, can't get a job immediately, get depressed or start feeling sorry for themselves. They go home and they do nothing. They sit there and send emails and cold call people, basically become a telemarketer. And all they do is nothing. They accomplish absolutely zero. They exert a lot of effort and get nowhere. And then it becomes a depressive cycle, because they try, they don't succeed, so they get sad, so they isolate themselves, and then they try less, and it just keeps going round and round. Get out. Go to the job fairs. Go to the church groups, even go to events like any free public event, the farmers market, go to the local college job fairs. If you see a company hiring event, go in there. It may not even be in your industry or what you do. Go in anyway. Talk to them. Hey, I'm an accountant. I know you're a construction company. Do you need an accountant? You'll be shocked at how many times you'll walk in and somebody will be like, oh, hey, you know what? I don't need an accountant, but the company down the street is looking for one because their guy just retired. You never know what you're going to find. But if you stay at home and just dump resumes into ZipRecruiter, I can tell you right now, as a guy who had to do recruiting to sub in for another manager, it's a shit show. We posted a job on one day for a technical sales engineer. And in 5 days, I got over 800 resumes, including Hooters girls, a stripper, real estate agents, a mechanic, and a guy who I really think was into cosplay or something. I don't know. None of whom were qualified to do what I needed to do. It's like they didn't even read the damn description. They just dump resumes and hope. And I'll tell you right now, as a guy who recruited, the minute I look at a resume, as a matter of fact, I will sort them and bulk dump them in the trash until I get to a group I want. So make sure you get out to those events, network. Don't just do online applications. Follow-up calls. And on that subject, if you apply to a company online, call the main number, ask to speak to HR, and then say, hey, I've applied. Is there anything else I need to do? They may say, no, that's it. Okay, that's it, then that's it. Don't call them and become a stalker. But every other week, not every day, not every week, every 2 weeks, call them back. Hey, I'm just following up. Are there any other opportunities? They may refer you to the website. Okay, then that's how they're set up. But keep in touch. Follow up. Don't just go into a cocoon of depression. Get your ass out there. And last but not least, take a day. Once you write down all the actions, write down the names of people, stop. Take a minute, take a day, or even a couple of days, clean up the house, get your laundry done, get a shave, do your hair, whatever, makeup, you can, whatever the hell it is you're doing. Maintain a bit of a schedule. Take a day to relax and then maintain your schedule. Like I said, I got laid off. I was out of work for about a month and change. I still got up every day at 5:30. I still went to the gym. I still put on clean clothes, and I dressed as if I were going somewhere. And honestly, most days I went somewhere. I went to meet former colleagues. I went to meet work friends for lunch or maybe over coffee, former clients just to pick their brain. Get out. You may not always be able to do it, right? Your circumstances at home, you may have kids, you may have an elder you're taking care of, but make every effort to go out. Even if networking for you is going on LinkedIn and listening in on podcasts, or when they do those free presentations about how to find a job, you jump in there, comment in the chat. It would be very similar to what you're doing on YouTube, but you're doing it to get yourself a new damn job. Okay, guys, so the most common prep or most common SHTF that I've seen is a personal one, which would be losing your job, losing your employment, losing your place of work. Okay, and I think that's very underrated, and a lot of people don't prepare for it. We're preparing for these things like EMPs, floods, and tornadoes, which do happen, or EMPs, hacks, or power surges, or whatever, which can or have happened, and we don't look at the day-to-day things that can really throw you on your butt. So in any case, guys, that's my take, and that's my opinion on the most common SHTF, losing the way to make a living. And I hope I gave you some useful tips. Just a quick recap, and I'm just going to bullet point them. 1, keep calm. 2, verify your benefits before you walk out the door. 3, file for unemployment and any other state benefits immediately. Don't wait. 4, network. Former coworkers, former clients, anyone else you know. Give people your resume, your friends, even if they're still working, give them your resumes, have them hand them out for you, whatever. Network. 5, update your resume, and if you want to be fancy, because I did this too, create a personal business card. You can order 200 of them for $20 online. Get a batch of personal cards, so if you meet someone of interest, you can say, hey, this is my name, I'm an engineer or I'm an accountant, here's my number, I'd like to talk to you again. It makes you look like you have a clue. Resume and business cards. Next, go to the events. Don't cocoon yourself. And 7, take a day to get yourself organized, and maybe take a day once a week and just stop the job search and do life things and maintain a discipline and maintain a schedule so you don't become a slob. Anyway, guys, that's it. I hope that's helpful. Good luck. I hope none of you have to deal with job loss, but if you do, I hope this helped you out. Be good.